So this body, you put it through hell, may I tell you. But you put it through to learn certain lessons. For we are told the law is spiritual. But man does not know the law is spiritual until he has gone through all these fires of experience. And then he discovers that it is spiritual. And in the end, when the whole thing unfolds within him, then the law becomes so easy for him to operate. But not until the end. For we are told God has consigned all men to disobedience, that he may have mercy upon all. He has consigned all men to disobedience, that he may have mercy upon all. Here is a simple story. A boy born in poverty, born in Odessa, Russia, in a Jewish family, who knew nothing of, well, a full meal. At the tender age, he was the oldest of a family of 5. And at a very tender age, his mother died, leaving just a few babies. And then he was then maybe, I would say, 10. He had to work to support the family. His father was a worker, but could not bring in enough to feed the family. He never knew what it was to have a new pair of shoes, a new pair of pants, a new shirt, a new hat. Everything was given by charity. And these gifts were not new things. They were simply hand-me-downs, what people had passed on. And so when he wore out the burlap shoe, then he could go back and get another pair of things to wrap his foot in cold Russia. He got a job going to the bank every day with large denominations in paper, and they would be exchanged for silver and copper. And so when he came back, he had the equal amount of money, this time in silver and copper. And one day, standing before the teller, the cashier, he noticed that the copper and the silver had a similar external markings. They looked alike. And he wondered to himself, wouldn't it be wonderful if he made a mistake? Wouldn't it be wonderful if that cashier made a mistake and gave me silver instead of copper? At that moment, he assumed that the cashier did. And in his mind's eye, he took the things and then walked back to the store. He knew the cashier had not done it, but he simply wiped it out and played a little game. And he walked back feeling that the cashier had made the mistake. And he wanted to know, what will I do? I will go into a restaurant and eat for the first time in my life where I feel satisfied. I will eat until it comes through my ears. Then I'll buy a pair of shoes. And then I'll buy a pair of slacks. He knew that it would cover that much. When he got back to the store, the man hadn't made a mistake, but he had the joy of walking in that assumption. The next day, the man made that mistake. And he realized it the minute the man made the mistake. So he went to another bank and changed the money into the right amount, that he could take back the right amount to the store, leaving him this money over. And with that extra money, he said, I wrestled all day, or rather all day with myself, and that night I went to bed, I could hardly sleep. I wrestled and wrestled with myself because that was in conflict with what my dead mother had taught me. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. Yet, the next day, my hunger and my desire to have a new pair of shoes and a new pair of pants overpowered what I heard from my mother. And I ate until it came through not my ears, but until I was stuffed. Then I bought myself a pair of slacks, and I bought myself a pair of shoes. Well, who did it? If law had not come into the world, I would never have known sin. If the law did not say, you shall not covet, I would not know what it is to covet. And yet he who was guiding me consigned me to disobedience. So you find yourself, as he did, hungry and embarrassed because of the rags that he wore. And he learned that law was spiritual. So he arose from that state as a little impoverished Jewish boy in Odessa, in Russia. And after the revolution, he found himself, because the war came to an end, among the soldiers who left Russia and made their way into France. And so when he died at the age of 77 on Good Friday, this past Good Friday, he could leave an estate that runs into millions. He learned the law. He learned that the law is spiritual. And as he told me himself, he never took a man to court for an unpaid bill. He would sit at his desk when all the employees left, and he would write out a letter thanking them for their check. He never mailed it, but he would get himself into that mood and thank them for the check that they had sent. And he said within a matter of days, never in excess of a week, but quite often within 2-3 days, a check came. Check came to him in payment of an unpaid bill that was long overdue. So he said, I never once had to lose a friend, for I cannot remain in business and lose customers. And so I never had to dun a customer. I learned the law. I learned that these assumptions, though denied by my senses, if I really believed them and put all my faith in the assumption, it would become a reality. And so I lived by it long before I met you, Neville, long before I ever heard of you. I heard of you only through my wife. She heard of you and heard the law, and we sort of struck it off together when we met in Paris. But long before I met her or met you, I proved this law when I was a poor little boy in Russia. And I began to live by it. And so I had never once took a man to court to get back monies that I had advanced in the form of merchandise. Never. And so when he died at the right age of 77, died quite suddenly of a heart attack, well, he had proven Paul's words were right. And he didn't know Paul, for he was born and raised in the Jewish faith. And I doubted that he ever read the New Testament. So when Paul makes the statement in the 7th chapter of Romans that the law is spiritual, when he makes that bold statement that if it were not for the law, I never should have known sin. I should not have known what it is to covet. If the law had not said, you shall not covet. So God has consigned all men to disobedience, that he may have mercy upon all,